Good morning and welcome to another edition of Community Issues. I'm your host, Noel Duckworth, September 30th, 2018, live here on Comcast Channel 28. My first guest, she's no stranger. She's been here, let me see, about 100 times. Well, she was with the Delaware Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and now you're for a new organization that deals with health in the community. Ms. Noel Duckworth, good morning.
Hi, Omar. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back on the show.
No problem at all. So talk about your organization you're involved with. Just give us a little bit background.
Sure, thank you. So I am now working with the University of Delaware's new partnership for healthy communities. Right. It's one of several partnerships that the university has launched. Right. And our role really is to mobilize universities' resources, whether it's education, whether it's research, whether it's service with students, and really support community efforts that are collective, that have lots of groups around the table from different sectors in addressing and improving healthy communities in a more kind of long-term, authentic, impactful way. We're really trying to be very strategic and deliberate and show up in the communities that need us the most.
Right, you know, we talked, we haven't seen each other for a while, but we talked to the annual Wilmington Wellness Day, which was an awesome program. One of the things I like how the mayor, last year he had it at Helen Chambers Park, right across from William Hicks Anderson Community Center. This year was with Herman Holloway Park, right across from Bancroft Middle School. And he's bringing it into the community, whereas for previous years it was at Rodney Square, of course you know. So talk about the significance of events as such being in those type of communities, the 19, 801, 805, or 802 areas.
Absolutely, great question. I think that one of the things that we are focusing on communities experiencing social inequities, and it's important because health is more, you know, than a doctor's office visit. Right. We, just like Wilmington had to invite the CDC in to study gun violence as a health problem because we can't arrest our way out of crime, we also can't treat our way to better health. And so we know that, you know, places where we live, work, play, and pray, and our own immediate neighborhoods and communities, that really, you know, what surrounds us really shapes us and impacts our health. And we're learning more and more about that in the science. And so showing up in neighborhoods that need health resources, who have been disproportionately impacted by negative health outcomes, whose communities where the distribution of power and resources and money has really affected their lives, we've got to begin to really meet people where they are and change, and not just bring in the resources and the services and the programs, but also change the policies that created those conditions in the first place.
And one of the things, when we talk about health, let's talk about proper eating. You know, in the inner cities, there are those who may lack transportation. So they have corner stores, and they also have, you know, maybe Dollar General or the Dollar Store, and they don't really sell like fruits or other kind of healthy products. So I guess do you encourage like an organization that deals with fruit, you know, come to those communities, you know, and sell those fruit to the people who may not be able to go to the supermarkets outside the city of Wilmington?
Absolutely. We're partnering with a lot of groups studying food systems and distribution and why those food deserts, we call it a desert essentially, you know, happen in the first place. And it's not just Wilmington. We did work with a group in Dover that was involved residents in walking the entire neighborhoods and areas, and they found in a 5-mile radius in low-income communities where people depended on public transportation and things like that, that the only vegetable that they could find in 5 miles was a pickle at a Family Dollar. Wow. So, you know, it's easy for me as a white woman who is a college educated, middle class, American born, English speaking, able bodied, for me to say, why don't people just choose to, you know, eat healthy and serve fresh produce? But we have to really understand, and it requires us, you know, showing up and learning about people's context of their lives and understanding what systems are in place that allow those things to happen in the first place. Why are there more, you know, liquor stores, you know, in low income and African American communities than there are in the white suburbs? These are not accidental. These are deliberate policies that have occurred over the years that create conditions where people life expectancies are shortened now, and their children's life expectancies are shortened. We know that children whose parents don't get a high school education, you know, live less, live, you know, shorter lives or have worse health outcomes when their parents have college ed. So this is creating a generation of problems, as folks in those communities know all too well.
And if you look at the community, there's a lot of fast food places as well.
Right.
And a lot of fast food places.
Yeah.
how do people get involved with your organization? I mean, do you hear about events and you just go, or do people call you, say, hey, we may want you guys to come out and support this?
Absolutely. People can reach out. You know, certainly what our job is to kind of be like a switchboard operator for the university and really be the bridge. So if folks call me and say, you know, we're doing a really interesting thing here where we're trying to address some of these inequities and we want the university to be involved, if we aren't already, then we begin to talk with those groups, collect information, and then I put an appeal out. A lot of people don't know, the University of Delaware is made up of 7 different colleges. So we have College of Arts and Science, Engineering, Ocean and Environment, and all of those things impact our health. I mean, housing is a health issue. Education is a health issue. You know, discrimination and bias is a health issue. All those things impact our health and well-being, even more than sometimes our access to medical care. We know studies show that only 10% of our health is really impacted by the medical care we receive. Everything else is impacted by those things that surround us. And so we need to be working with all those colleges and move out of this idea of it's only the folks doing health that need to be at the table.
Definitely. You just mentioned health, and one of the barriers in terms of being in good physical condition is the lack of not having medical insurance, you know, out-of-pocket expenses for a physical examination and or dental. I mean, even patients with Medicaid, I don't think that they're eligible to receive the dental services. So does your organization partner with other agencies who can meet with people who don't have, you know, medical insurance?
Yeah, we're partnering right now. We have a couple exciting, and I hope to come back on the show in a few months when I'm able to talk more specifically about the details. But we have some things in the pipeline that are really working to bring services like that to the community, meet people right there where they are. We can no longer expect people in the East Side or West End or the other places to go uptown or across, you know, blocks away to get the help they need. We really need, and I'm echoing, I think, Kevin Kelly here from Parks and Rec. He talks a lot about this. We really need to show up and bring the services right to the block. We worked really intensely with the City of Wilmington Parks and Rec. It was funded by Christiana Care, which is exciting because normally hospitals don't always fund things outside of the clinical domain. And they funded the Play Streets initiative, and I don't know if you're familiar with that happened over the summer. But we went to 8 neighborhoods for almost 30 different times, Monday through Thursday, every night. We shut down the blocks for 2 or 3 hours in all different parts of Wilmington, brought in play equipment and other things, and tried to create safe spaces for children and families to come out and recreate. We brought in urban bikes, had bikes, we had jump ropes, hula hoops, tennis in the streets. And for, 4 nights a week, we had a whole crew and volunteers and community members coming together to create those spaces for the entire summer. And that was exciting because I think that the planning that happened around that occurred nearly a year ago, and it came out of conversations around Wilmington's gun violence and the young boy that was shot, you know, on the East Side and ended up hospitalized. And people talked about our kids can't even play in the streets anymore without getting hurt. So you can talk to me all you want as a parent. And my son Henry's here watching me today. You can talk to me all you want as a parent about make sure your kids get exercise. But if I'm a parent and I don't feel like it's safe for my son to go outside, you know, in my neighborhood, that's going to cause a lot of problems. So we thought, you know, whatever we do to promote health and well-being, we've got to create safety first, and we have to help people feel connected by their community and supported, because social cohesion and connectedness is also a real strong protective factor for our health.
A couple minutes remaining in this segment. We definitely want to invite you once again, possibly for a 30-minute segment because there's so much information. My last show I did from Delaware. You know, HIV is very significant in the African American community. 19801, 802, 805. You also have high blood pressure and high cholesterol, which is a common diagnosis and a medical diagnosis. So are you partnering with any organization in terms of addressing the high number of HIV, AIDS cases in the community, as well as high blood pressure and high cholesterol?
I'm trying to think of, we've partnered with AIDS Delaware and others. I was in the Delaware HIV Consortium on broader multi-sector kind of health initiatives. Nothing specifically for HIV, but it's something that we'd love to talk about. So I encourage. I'll talk to Frank Hawkins after the show and see what more we can be doing.
And
because it is important.
We got 2 minutes remaining. You want to close out with any words of encouragement to our viewing audience, and then you want to leave a number or contact information for those who will be interested in contacting you?
Sure. So we really want to uncover inequality. And for those groups and policymakers that are benefiting from those inequalities, we've got to start really shining the light on how those policies impact all people and how certain groups benefit more than others. So towards that effort and our understanding of it, we're going to be hosting a Racial Justice and Health Policy Academy at the University of Delaware on our South Campus, the old Chrysler building area. We have a new building that was built called the Tower, and we have an audion there, and we're going to invite all community residents, community groups, policymakers, legislators. We're going to contact folks after the November 8th election and ask them to attend and be part of the conversation to really look at the literature and the research that our faculty and students can present and have conversations about how we really need to promote health and equality for all.
All right, on that note, I'd like to thank you once again. Welcome back to the program. It's been a minute.
So
Okay, just keep me in contact. We'll bring you back on.
Thank you so much.
Live right here on Lisa Ash Channel 28. You're watching Community Issues. I'll bring you back with my next guest. Welcome back to Community Issues. Once again, I'm your host, Omar Rashid. Now joining me live, this is our first appearance on Community Issues. He is the Executive Director and Founder of Voices.
We are their faces.
We are the Faces Inc. All right, Ms. Johanna Vasquez, good morning.
Pleasure, thanks for having me.
We are the Faces Inc. Just give me a background on how the organization got started and what's the purpose of the program.
So in 2014, I started to do a lot of community work without being nonprofit. It was just as a mother gift. I started learning that if you had a name for a company, if you wanted to start a company, whether it was now or later on, to register your name. So We Are Their Faces Inc. came about. We are the faces to our young youth, to our next generation after that. So that's how I got the name We Are Their Faces Inc. 2016, I started going to the state chambers events, and someone's like, hey, you know there's a such thing as a nonprofit 501c3. You'll get grants, you'll get donations, you should look into that. Well, I did, and I became officially 501c3 February 14 of 2017. So we are officially 1 year this year, and every year thereafter will be on Love Day. So what great day, right? The reason why I started, and it's crazy because our anniversary of 501c3 is on February 14th, is to show the community that they are loved. A lot of people are hurting inside, and it's because they don't understand that the person right next to you, they're going through the same exact thing as you, but we're all fearing to speak up, to say something, or just to reach out to one another. So our mission is, you know, we advocate, empower, and educate families in the community so they can reach their full potential by overcoming poverty. Poverty is a very stressful thing, and as Noel was saying our previous, you know, just previously, is it's difficult, you know, to understand why is it in less fortunate communities there's more liquor stores than there's healthy things, you know, and it is done on purpose. It's called poverty, you know, but we as people, we can speak up and we can make that change. So I started with programs that one is Living Life right now. We just recently changed the name, and that is basically, you know, just going into people's inner fear to want to speak up about whatever they're going through without feeling like I'm being judged, because we're all being judged. It doesn't matter what you're going through in life. You can be up high, you can be in the middle, you can be low. You're going to be judged regardless, you know, but you have to take that criticism and make it, you know, allow it to empower you. We also offer programs, communication skills. That is for nonverbal and verbal. A lot of kids nowadays, they're so into this electronic and, you know, PlayStations and PS4s and stuff like that, you know, and they think what they see there is how they're supposed to communicate with each other. So that's why all the violence is going on now. They rather pick up a gun than, you know, the Bible says your tongue, it speaks life and death. A lot of kids don't understand that because it goes back to they're not understanding that they're loved because their parents don't understand that they're loved. So if you're hurting, it doesn't matter, you know, just use that to empower you and to keep going in life. So we go to now, we're focusing on elementary and middle schools for them to be able to learn how to communicate properly rather than with their hands, you know, or like verbally, you know, abusing someone else just because they're hurting inside.
You know, and one thing that you talk about communication, children and adults do. Cell phone. It's just like if we don't have a cell phones,
we get lost.
We get lost. Right?
Yeah, and it's very true. My phone just got frozen 2 days ago. I have an iPhone, right? I love both of them, iPhone and Android, right? But without it, it's our life. They were created for us to be less stressful and to have, you know, less things on our duty lives, and it seems like they actually, you know, drag us more into being more busy that we don't even have time to see the real problem right in front of our face. Pros and cons, everything in life, right? But our last program that we implemented this year is called self-esteem, building confidence, and that goes sort of kind of plays into the communication. You know, if you learn how to just to use your mouth and use the proper words, the proper terminology, you can say a lot, a mouthful with curse words, and no one's going to hear you, no one's going to listen to you because they feel as though you're just being angry and you don't really mean it and you don't know how to represent yourself, right? But if you take that, you know, communication and use the proper terminology and the proper language, then someone will listen to you. You will reach 1,000 more people for you to be able to be helped. So building the confidence in children at an early age, they say, implant it now, you know, that's why in pre-K now they're teaching them Chinese and Spanish, you know, because if you teach them in an early age, it will carry on with them and they will always have that urge to, I want to learn more, I want to know what's supposed to make me shine like God made me to shine, you know. So that's where our self-esteem building confidence program comes in now.
All right, and two-part question. How do you determine what schools do you go to? Do people give you a call, or is there a referral process? And the second part, you talk about self-esteem, and one of the things that really affects children's self-esteem is, once again, is social media. You go on Facebook or some of the other things. You know, kids are very cruel to one another, and they can post negative things. You go back to school, everybody looking at you, pointing at you, laughing. So how do you address that issue as well?
So I deal with that mostly in high school. The way we partner with I'm a mother. So my son's in school already. I also have a 2-year-old that goes to daycare. So I'm connected with schools due to me being a mother. And I talk. I'm not shy to talk to anyone, and I tell them what I have going on, what I want to do. And next thing you know is I'm sprouted up with thousands of principals. I was a former member of the Delaware State Chamber member, Delaware Small Business Chamber member, and the Delaware State Chamber member as well. And there they have events where it's like the education board, you know, comes together. I go to the meetings, and I was well connected with principals and the hot people over top of the principals for the school districts. That's how I was able to get in with the schools. Now, this year we're focusing on Shortledge and Warner, which is in Red Clay school districts for our school drive, for our uniform school drive. And there we also going to, you know, try to implant our communication skills. Now, to answer you, the second part, right, is with teenagers, whereas that comes more harder. Yes, all kids are more on social media, but teenagers are more into being on social media, and they're affected by it because at the end of the day, we're human, we're sensitive. You know, it's just like we put on the front, you know, it's like that doesn't bother me, but when your fingers are being pointed by half of the school, it does affect you, and it does affect how you're going to listen in classroom, how you're going to respect your teacher, and how you're going to respect yourself and your peers. So I put a game on, and that's where our former program name, but it's now called Living Life, right? It's called Self-Love. And in that game, if you make things fun for kids, they're learning and they don't even know that they're learning, including teenagers. That's where they know everything, you know. So we do a self-love game, and it teaches them how to basically figure out the person next to them without knowing that they're actually going through the same thing. And at the end, they have a new friend.
Right, services for families. You mentioned prior to the program that you do like more like counseling services, and also we talked about before the program, which you let the audience know that if there are families who may be struggling financially to pay their electric bill or pay their rent, do you partnership with other programs?
I have a lot of partnerships with a lot of other organizations and programs, or people that are willing to donate, you know, to one particular family, adopt a family throughout the year and help them, whether it's, you know, food throughout the year. Because I mean, there's so many programs and it's so many funds with a lot more people that are needing help, you know. So a lot of programs are not putting their self out there because they don't want 100 people, you know, coming. So they'll partner as a third party. We won't put our name out there, but, you know, we are their faces. We'll interview you. We are their faces. We'll make sure that you bring in the paperwork that we need, and then we return the file, and then they reach out, or they'll send the check straight to the landlord, should I say. You know, we personally don't do that. It's a lot. You know, so we don't have that type of funds at the moment. Near future will be awesome, but we do interview for other third parties. So if parents, you know, that's their stress level for them because they lost their job, or just because it's just a bump in their life right now, they're more than welcome to reach out via Facebook, We Are Their Faces Inc., or our phone number 302-772-8552, or on our website, wearetheirfacesinc.org.
We got like 2 or 3 minutes remaining in this segment. I want you to give a shout out or so appreciation, because I know as great as this organization is, you can't do it by yourself. So I'm quite sure you got some other staff members. You might want to throw the names out there. And then any closing comments you have to the audience in terms of reaching out to the program, donating to the program, or if they have a youth or families that are in need, how they can contact you.
Okay, which camera do I look at? In this one?
This one.
Okay, so if you guys want to donate, of course, anything cash, check, or money orders can be sent to our P.O. Box 30122, Wilmington, Delaware 19805, or on our Facebook, We Are Their Faces Inc., or our website, www.wearetheirfacesinc.org. My biggest shout out is to God himself. I could not do this. He is always working behind the scene, and I'm so gratefully, you know, to have him and know how much he loves me, and you guys too. And my board, you guys are phenomenal. I have myself, I like to call myself the white lady hat, you know, because I do a lot. I have April Harris, and you can also find all of these also on our Facebook or our website. April Harris is our volunteer coordinator. I have Khadijah Saunders, that's my secretary. I have my son, James Leonard Jr., that is the pre-K youth leader. And then I have Will Weber, which is our retailer consultant. If you guys want to help volunteer or have any type of partnerships that you guys are interested in doing with us, just feel free to reach out to us, and thank you.
All right, on that note, I'd like to thank you for coming on
and
being a guest.
My pleasure.
All right, if you want to come back on, if you got anything new coming up, just let me know.
Okay.
And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Community Issues. I'll be back next Sunday. The topic of discussion is going to be domestic violence. God bless. Have a safe week.